The Browns just forced their head coach to admit something shocking about their rookie quarterback, and the implications could change everything for this team. Shedeur Sanders has quietly been making waves behind the scenes, and yet, for months, the narrative coming out of Cleveland was completely different. The head coach, Kevin Stefanski, seemed reluctant, almost unwilling, to give Shedeur the recognition he deserved. For fans watching from the outside, it looked like a clash of egos, but insiders know it's much deeper than that. There's a power struggle happening in Cleveland, and it's one that could redefine the Browns' future. For weeks, Shedeur's talent was undeniable. His off-platform ability, the kind of rare, elite trait that separates great quarterbacks from good ones, was impossible to ignore on the field. Yet every time he made a highlight-worthy play, the messaging from the press and from inside the organization downplayed it. Stefanski kept giving generic responses about development plans and rookie growth, never putting Shedeur in the spotlight where he clearly belonged. On the surface, it looked like a typical rookie progression story, but beneath the surface, something far more dramatic was unfolding. Sources reveal that Andrew Barry, the Browns' general manager, was quietly pulling the strings, ensuring that the world knew exactly what was happening. Barry's job, his reputation, even the future of this franchise all hinge on finding a true quarterback who can lead this team for years. And for the first time, it became clear that Shedeur Sanders is that quarterback. But here's the twist. The coach, Stefanski, wasn't naturally inclined to see it. In fact, he spent months trying to fit Shedeur into a rigid system, suppressing the very skills that make him special. The scrambles, the improvisation, the off-schedule brilliance, everything that makes Shedeur a game-changer, was met with hesitation and, in some cases, outright attempts to curtail it. Then came the press conference that changed the narrative. Stefanski, typically composed and in control of his media interactions, looked uncomfortable. His words were cautious, his answers vague, and yet, if you listened closely, the story was crystal clear. Behind his reluctance, behind the generic coach speak, was a coach being forced to acknowledge the undeniable. Shedeur Sanders isn't just improving, he's thriving, and the Browns' leadership isn't willing to let anyone, not even the head coach, hold him back. This isn't just about one rookie or one press conference. It's about an organization recognizing a potential franchise quarterback, about a GM taking bold steps to ensure his star player is supported, and about a coach struggling to reconcile his instincts with what's best for the team. The tension, the drama, the quiet power struggle, it all leads to one question. Will Kevin Stefanski embrace Shedeur Sanders, or is this just the beginning of a larger conflict? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay locked in on all the latest NFL drama, make sure you hit that like button. It helps the video reach more people who love this content just like you. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another update, reaction, or storyline as it unfolds in real time. I also want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about Shedeur Sanders' performance and the Browns' collapse? Drop your thoughts below and let's talk about it. And don't forget to share this video with friends who follow the NFL. Your support truly keeps the channel moving forward. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why this press conference isn't just a media event. It's a window into the future of the Browns, the rise of Shedeur Sanders, and a power struggle that could define the next decade of this franchise. Stick around, because what you're about to hear goes far beyond the stats and highlights. It's the untold story of what's really happening behind the scenes. The moment Kevin Stefanski stepped in front of the microphones, you could feel the tension. This wasn't just another routine press conference filled with the usual, we'll take it one game at a time cliches. No, this was different. Stefanski, the head coach of the Browns, was on the hot seat, and everyone in that room knew it. The question on everyone's mind was simple. Can you quantify the progress of your rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders? For a normal coach, this would be a golden opportunity to shine, to highlight a young player's growth, to show insight into their development, and to build confidence with the fans. But Stefanski didn't see it that way. Instead, his response was vague, cautious, and defensive. "I don't think you can quantify development," he said, repeating it like a mantra. With all of our players, we have a development plan that we feel strongly about. That's coach speak for. Don't put me in a position where I have to admit I might have been wrong. But the reporters pressed on, and that's when cracks in his composure started to show. He tried to pivot, talking about the rookie class as a whole rather than giving Shedeur the specific praise he clearly deserved. It was a subtle deflection, a way to acknowledge progress without actually acknowledging Shedeur. If you listened carefully, though, you could hear the tension in his words, the subtle hesitation that betrayed the pressure he was under. Because here's what most people don't see. Stefanski wasn't just dodging questions for the sake of it. Sources say Andrew Barry, the Browns' general manager, was behind the scenes making sure Stefanski didn't get a free pass. Barry had seen enough. He knew Shedeur Sanders wasn't just another rookie. He was a potential franchise quarterback, and the team couldn't afford for his talents to be suppressed any longer. Stefanski had spent months trying to fit Shedeur into a rigid, conservative system, pulling him out for crucial plays and trying to turn him into a game manager. And now, under the watchful eye of ownership and the GM, he was being forced to admit that Shedeur's off-platform playmaking was real, valuable, and essential to the team's success. Every answer Stefanski gave was carefully measured. Even when asked about Shedeur's ability to make plays off schedule, a skill that sets elite quarterbacks apart, he had to tread lightly. He praised the rookie, but the language was telling. You never want to take that away from a player. That's not just coaching wisdom. That's a coach being made to acknowledge that his previous approach might have been wrong. Every word, every pause, every shift in tone hinted at the invisible hand of Andrew Barry guiding the conversation. By the time the press conference ended, one thing was clear. Stefanski was cornered. This wasn't about media optics or routine updates anymore. This was a coach being forced to recognize the undeniable truth. Shedeur Sanders is special, and the Browns are building their team around him, whether Stefanski likes it or not. The stage was set, and the next chapter in this story promised even more drama. Behind every press conference, there's always a story you don't see. And in the case of the Browns, that story is a quiet but intense power struggle between Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, and Andrew Barry, the general manager. On the surface, it looks like a coach answering questions about his rookie quarterback. But peel back the layers, and it's clear this is about control, authority, and the future of the franchise. Stefanski has always been known for his conservative approach. He values structure, discipline, and sticking to the system. And for months, that approach clashed directly with Shedeur Sanders' unique skill set. Shedeur isn't just another rookie. He's an improviser, a playmaker who thrives off schedule, a quarterback capable of creating opportunities out of chaos. Every time he scrambled, made a split-second decision, or extended a play, it challenged the system Stefanski tried to impose. For the coach, it was uncomfortable, maybe even threatening. Enter Andrew Barry. Unlike Stefanski, Barry's perspective isn't rooted in preserving coaching pride or sticking to traditional systems. His focus is the bigger picture, finding a franchise quarterback and building a team around him. And he's made it very clear to Stefanski that Shedeur Sanders is that quarterback. Reports indicate Barry told him bluntly, "You are going to acknowledge Shedeur's progress, you are going to highlight his unique abilities, and you are going to let him play to his strengths." The directive was explicit, and Stefanski's responses during the press conference reflect just how much he's being guided or pressured by ownership. This isn't just a clash of personalities, it's a structural shift in power. For a long time, head coaches ran their teams with near-complete control over game plans and player usage. But Barry isn't giving Stefanski free rein anymore. He's taking an active role, making decisions about the quarterback and the offensive philosophy. That subtle change, turning, will the coach play the QB his way into, will the QB play under the GM's direction, is seismic. It means Stefanski no longer has the final say when it comes to the player who could define the Browns' next decade. You can see the tension in Stefanski's words. He still clings to conservative phrasing, still talks about structure and easy buttons, but the influence of Barry is undeniable. When he praises Shedeur's off-platform ability, the phrasing, promote and enhance, sounds more like GM language than a coach's natural inclination. Every concession, every carefully worded compliment tells the story of a coach being forced to adapt, to publicly align with a vision he may not fully agree with. This struggle isn't just about Shedeur's development, it's about the Browns' identity. Do they stick with a coach who prefers to suppress talent for the sake of system, or do they empower a GM to shape a team around a rising star? Bari has made his choice clear. Shedeur Sanders is the future, and the system will bend to him. Stefanski can adapt, or risk becoming irrelevant. In the end, the press conference wasn't just media theater. It was a snapshot of a franchise in transition, a subtle but decisive shift in power, and the beginning of a new chapter for both Shedeur Sanders and the Browns. The coach may have the title, but the GM is calling the shots. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another rookie quarterback learning the ropes. He's a player with a rare, elite skill set that most coaches only dream of seeing. The term off-platform ability gets thrown around a lot in football circles, but in Shedeur's case, it's not just jargon. It's the defining trait that makes him so dangerous, so unpredictable, and so valuable. And during that press conference, Kevin Stefanski, despite his reluctance, was forced to acknowledge it. For months, Stefanski tried to suppress this part of Shedeur's game. He called conservative plays, removed him from high-pressure situations, and attempted to mold him into a traditional game manager. Every time Shedeur extended a play or improvised outside the structure of the offense, it was met with hesitation, or worse, a pull from the field. But here's the truth. That off-platform ability isn't a flaw, it's what separates elite quarterbacks from the rest. And when Andrew Bari stepped in, everything changed. During the press conference, when asked about Shedeur's ability to make plays off schedule, Stefanski's words were careful, measured, but telling. You never want to take that away from a player. He has an ability to make plays off schedule that we want to promote and enhance. Listen closely. Those aren't just casual coaching comments. That's a coach being guided to publicly acknowledge what he may have previously resisted admitting. Promote and enhance is Stefanski's natural phrasing. It's the language of the GM making sure the player's unique strengths are celebrated, not suppressed. This is where the story gets fascinating. You don't often see a coach being forced to recognize a player's elite traits publicly. And yet, that's exactly what happened here. Shedeur's off-platform ability, the instinct to extend plays, to scramble, to create opportunities where none exist, was finally being validated. Stefanski even admitted, "You want the team to play to that style," meaning the entire offense was beginning to adjust to Shedeur's strengths rather than forcing him to fit into a rigid system. Think about what that means. For weeks, Shedeur was held back, sitting on the bench, studying defenses, learning the playbook, all while his natural instincts were being underutilized. But now, the Browns are acknowledging that his improvisational skill isn't just acceptable, it's central to the team's success. The offense will be built around his ability to make plays off schedule, his mobility, and his creativity under pressure. And here's the most striking part. Stefanski's acknowledgement came under duress. Sources say Andrew Bari was orchestrating every word, ensuring the coach gave Shedeur the credit he deserved. This isn't just a player being praised. It's a statement that the organization recognizes a generational talent and won't allow internal resistance to hinder his growth. By finally highlighting Shedeur's off-platform ability, the Browns are sending a clear message. This is the quarterback who will define the future of the franchise, and everyone, coaches, staff, and teammates, will adjust to maximize his strengths. The subtle language shift, the careful phrasing, the reluctant admissions, all of it points to a player whose talent can no longer be ignored or suppressed. Shedeur Sanders' off-platform ability isn't just a skill, it's the spark that's transforming the Browns' offense, and for the first time, everyone in Cleveland is being forced to acknowledge it. Sometimes, the story of a player isn't told through numbers or stats, it's told through moments on the field. And for Shedeur Sanders, those moments are impossible to ignore. During the press conference, Kevin Stefanski was pressed about Shedeur's ability to make plays off schedule, and the answer revealed far more than just coaching philosophy. It revealed what Shedeur has been accomplishing every game. Take one example, a crucial third-down play where Shedeur scrambled under pressure. The pocket collapsed, receivers were covered, and yet he kept his eyes up, scanning for an opening. When none appeared, he made the smart decision to throw the ball away, avoiding a turnover. On the surface, it may have looked simple, but for a rookie, it's a sign of elite instincts and situational awareness. Stefanski himself acknowledged it, albeit carefully, calling it good progress for a young quarterback. The significance isn't lost. This is exactly the kind of play that illustrates Shedeur's growth under pressure. Then there are the bigger, flashier moments. Plays where Shedeur extends the pocket, improvises on the run, and creates something out of nothing. These aren't just athletic feats, they're the defining traits that separate great quarterbacks from average ones. And yet, for months, Stefanski tried to limit these plays, to force Shedeur into a system that didn't maximize his strengths. Every time Shedeur displayed that off-platform brilliance, it was almost like the system pushed back, pulling him away from what makes him special. What makes these plays so important is the context. Shedeur wasn't just making them in practice. He was doing it in high-pressure games when the outcome mattered most. Each time he improvised successfully, it forced the organization and the coach to reckon with the reality of his talent. And during that press conference, Stefanski had no choice but to publicly acknowledge it. "You never want to take away that ability to make plays off schedule," he said, highlighting a skill that had been consistently stifled until Andrew Barry intervened. Even the plays that don't end in spectacular results tell the story. Scrambles that end with a smart throwaway, quick decisions that prevent turnovers, or the ability to evade pressure while keeping his team in a scoring position. These are subtle, critical indicators of a quarterback growing into his role. And for Shedeur, they are proof that his preparation, his study of defenses, and his natural instincts are paying off. Every single play reinforces the argument. He belongs on the field, not the bench. The bigger picture becomes undeniable when you connect the dots. Stefanski's reluctant praise, the specific plays highlighted, and the way the offense is now beginning to adapt all point to one truth. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a promising rookie, he's a transformative talent. The plays tell a story of potential, resilience, and skill. They reveal why the GM is stepping in, why the coaching approach is shifting, and why the Browns are finally ready to build their offense around him. In the end, these plays aren't just about individual moments. They're proof of Shedeur's development, proof that the pressure to suppress him was misguided, and proof that the future of the Browns lies in embracing his extraordinary abilities. One of the clearest ways to understand what's happening with Shedeur Sanders is by looking beyond Cleveland to what other teams are doing with their own young quarterbacks. Take the Chicago Bears and their rookie sensation, Caleb Williams. In interviews, Kevin Stefanski described Caleb almost in the same language he used for Shedeur. "He can make a ton of plays both on schedule and off schedule, extremely elusive, adds another element to the offense." Those words, when you listen carefully, could almost have been written for Shedeur Sanders. So why is one team maximizing their quarterback's strengths while another spent months suppressing theirs? The difference is in the philosophy and the level of organizational commitment. In Chicago, the Bears built their offense around Caleb Williams, emphasizing his mobility, his improvisational ability, and his arm talent. They created schemes to highlight what makes him unique, ensuring that every play gives him the opportunity to succeed. The result: Caleb thrives in the system because the system exists to serve him. Contrast that with the Browns' initial approach to Shedeur. For months, Stefanski tried to fit him into a rigid framework, limiting off-platform plays, calling conservative snaps, and even taking him off the field in high-pressure moments. The talent was there, the flashes were undeniable, but the system often worked against him. Every improvisational play risked criticism, and every smart decision outside the structure of the offense was seen as a deviation rather than a strength. It's the difference between being celebrated for creativity and being restrained by tradition. This comparison highlights why Andrew Barry's intervention was so critical. He looked at what the Bears were doing with Caleb and recognized the potential in Shedeur. "Look at Chicago," Barry reportedly told Stefanski. "That's how you handle a franchise quarterback. That's what we need to do here." And suddenly, the narrative shifted. No longer is Shedeur expected to conform to a rigid system. Instead, the offensive philosophy is adapting to his strengths. his mobility, his ability to improvise, and his elite off-platform talent. The implications are huge. Teams like the Bears show what happens when an organization fully embraces a young quarterback. The player grows faster, the offense becomes more dynamic, and the team as a whole benefits. The Browns, by initially suppressing Shedeur, risked wasting a rare talent. But now, with the GM actively shaping the approach, they're catching up. They're acknowledging that Shedeur's ability to make plays outside the pocket isn't a flaw, it's a defining feature that can't be ignored. Ultimately, the comparison underscores a fundamental truth in football. A quarterback's environment shapes his success. When the system, the coach, and the organization work against him, even elite talent can be restrained. When they build around him, the sky's the limit. And for Shedeur Sanders, the Browns are finally taking the steps to ensure he's operating in an environment where his unique abilities are not only allowed, but celebrated. The Browns' approach to offense is undergoing a transformation, and at the center of it is Shedeur Sanders. For months, the strategy seemed rigid, conservative, designed to fit the quarterback into a system rather than letting the quarterback shape the system. But that's changing, and the shift is both subtle and seismic. The playbook is expanding, the coaching philosophy is evolving, and the message from ownership is clear. Build around Shedeur, not the other way around.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.